from that short break, and before we broke off, we were discussing the role of the Uganda Investment Authority in this deal. But before we go into that, Priska, I hope you're back on. Priska?
Are you getting me?
Yes, Priska. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Yes, so Parliament passed the Coffee Act in 2021, and currently they have they've constituted the Trade Committee to probe how the Uganda Vinci Company signed this contract and why they were awarded these tax exemptions. Isn't it on the contrary? They passed the bill giving the government all the powers to do this, and now they are probing it. What do you have to say about this?
Thanks so much, Lisa. And I remember when we were breaking off, you hinted about inquiring into the role of Uganda Investment Authority in this whole deal. I am always of the view that any serious investor should not be seen at State House, because and over time I've been proved right, because we have institutions in place that if you're going to invest or undertake any project, there are institutions that you have to go through for your project to be approved and everything. Because UIA has one stop center where they even bring around URSB, they have URA, so they are in one unit. They are just our neighbors here. So State House, you would go to State House as the last resort, probably if someone is standing in your way. But for you to come from Italy and you say, I'm going to invest in Uganda, and you want to go to State House, each time I see those so-called investors in State House, they have turned out, to me, I view them as jokers, because we have even seen the professor of COVID and everything. And I usually tend to ask people that, how many times do you see Bill Gates or Elon Musk or anyone at the White House in the US? Within 5 years, you can see them probably once. You see that? So because there are institutions in place to guide you throughout your investment, if you're really a genuine investor. You see that? And you've even seen serious companies like MTN, they didn't have to first go to State House. They only go to State House when there is some bickering between them, or there are some things that they need to negotiate. But it's not that they are going for. So that speaks about the UIA thing. And when the PS said that they did due diligence, of which, but it's his word against the public, because no one has been in position to see the due diligence report. And he said that the government has been looking for someone to invest, to add value to the coffee. And Pinetti approached government and said, I can raise $80 million to undertake this project. And so that brings to question, was any due diligence carried out on her financial capability? Because I was in Parliament yesterday when the officials of Ministry of Health were talking about the Luwa project that has really come out to haunt Pinetti. They said that so far, 2 contractors have abandoned the site, Rocco and Power China. 2 of them have abandoned the site. And the last time the committee was at the site, all they saw was iron bars, mitaimbwa. There was really nothing done. And you should know that in this current financial year we are in, they gave about 348 billion shillings. And as I was coming here, I told Lizzie that I might run late, because Luboa was another issue that was being discussed in Parliament, because Kasaija was appearing before the Finance Committee. And the committee is saying that probably this money should not be approved. If they want, they can, if it's really urgent, they can come for supplementary she was given 348 billion last year. Now she's requesting for another 319 billion. You see that? That's about 667 billion shillings that is going to go injected, because I'm counting this money that is coming up because the accountant general said as the moment you approved that promissory note, as when the date comes due for the money to be given me, I have to give it, because if I delay, it will be breach of the contract. So it's technically like this money has already been approved. There is nothing we can do about it. And so when this whole thing of the due diligence, if she has failed to raise money because she had claimed she was going to get funding from a British bank. If she has failed to raise money for this war project, and this is the same person telling you, I can raise 80 million US dollars. I don't know whether the minister thought the 80 million is thought the currencies in Uganda or not, but 80 million shillings is a lot of money for you to claim that this approached us. And so the farmers were asking if did you okay if did you alert us on expression of interest to see how we are going to add value to our coffee, because at least they needed that. And Ramadan also said that for the people who are the people like the Kushengas who have the capability to export their own coffee, they can do that. But you remember that about 80% of the coffee that is grown in Uganda is by the small scale farmers. On the commercial farmers are contributing the least percentage. So, and the small scale farmers are the ones who are going to be under penalty because they have no capability to what, to export the coffee on their own. So this that is why people are saying who is now going to speak for the what, for the farmers. And from what I know is the minister when Kasaija was asked about the consultation to the farmers on KFM, he said that NRM did not consult Ugandans when they were going to the bush. Why should they consult them about coffee? That is what he told them on KFM. So you go with that kind of attitude is comparing a rebellion to something sensitive as coffee. So he said that for him, he asked that, do you know he also doesn't know the number of coffee farmers. So he said because he doesn't know the number of coffee farmers, it's the reason as to why he didn't consult them. So you cannot tell me that you conducted a due diligence when you didn't even consult the key stakeholders. Of at least the farmers would have been, and the traders would have been concerned, because they are in very many associations, and circles now and the trendy thing these days. So if you're going to get any funding, you come in a group. I'm sure there are all those groups that are registered. Even Parliament itself, when it was processing that coffee bill, there were many associations that came. It's a matter of Kasaija making a call to the clerk of the agriculture committee and send, because when those stakeholders come in Parliament, they register their names and contacts behind. So you tell them that get me a list of the coffee associations that I can consult over this thing. And even if we cannot consult as the minister, you can ask the agriculture committee on behalf of Parliament that consult me about this thing. That was it. But so that speaks about there was no political will to consult the farmers in the first place.
Oscar, let me cut you short there. You remind me of something. The same Kasaija in a press interview last week was asked why the Minister of Agriculture was not involved in the deal, and his reply was, I do not need to tell him, meaning to me was the Minister of Agriculture, because the task of industrializing this country is on me. Why would ministers serving in the same government move in such an uncoordinated fashion?
That is what I told you about the people, the equal sharing in the deal. The ministry they made this deal in a way that it's tight knit, in that they are few people who know about it. Because if you're going to involve UCDA, and then you're going to, because it needed UCDA, it needed also Ministry of Trade and Industries, it needed also the Ministry of Agriculture and everything. So they had to make the deal tight knit, in that they kind of keep the information within the circles of the people who are well versed with the matter. Because the more people you involve in the deal, the less share of the deal that you get. So there was totally no willingness to, and you even see the attitude of the minister. Because when you see the hierarchy of government, ministers are the same. It doesn't matter which portfolio you hold, but the Minister of Finance is at the same hierarchy as, you remember last week we talked about Tumwebaze coming up to say for the students of literature, you would see the tone behind Tumwebaze's tweet. You would see an angry man who is displeased about the development, and it's not surprising that they have now come to clash. But now I think with the, as you say, the trade committee is going to investigate. And I'm not so sure. Of course, they are going to make the recommendations, but you should know that the recommendations that are made by Parliament are implemented by the what? By the executive. Still, it's going to go back to the ministry, or the cabinet itself. Cabinet that took the decision in the first place, with Kasaija being. So it's going to be around in circles. I tend to think that Parliament is trying to come up to act like it's doing something, trying to correct some of the mistakes that it made. But the deal has already been signed. Even the Attorney General acknowledged. Of course, they're going to make some recommendations, probably hold people accountable, apologize, things like that. But after that, the person who has to implement the recommendations has to be the executive that is led by the president. So apart from Parliament posturing as if it's trying to do something, because the coffee is the trendy thing right now, it's likely to cost them politically. I don't think there is anything much. Yes, there are going to be more revelations that are going to be made, because there is a lineup about 26 entities that are going to be investigated. But now, even the mere fact that even when I saw the news that the investigation is going to be handled by the trade committee, I asked myself why. But you see, Mwine Mpaka, there is kind of a proactive person. So I thought it would be a joint committee of agriculture and trade, but they have decided to make it trade. So that is also problematic, because agriculture has a lot of MPs with an agriculture background. So I don't expect so much from what is going to transpire in the trade committee.
Thank you, Priska, for that.
I wanted to add something on what Priska has just been hinting on the bickering between the ministers. You see, I told you, when you've created a pool whereby there is a license to loot, of course, there are always those institutions that will want to loot alone and ignore others. So they create their own oligopoly, whereby it's only a few individuals who benefit from most of the government deals, and they shield away those other people. So those who feel like they have been ignored and excluded, yet they are supposed to be part of that deal, will always leak the dealings outside, and you will see some of them when we end up financing the media to complain about what is happening, and paint the bad picture about what is happening. Of course, if the deal is bad, and they also know that the deal was bad, but they have ignored them, they will make sure that there's a lot of media attention on that bill, and the coverage will be so intense. So what we are seeing right now, we should not just ignore it that it's just the Ugandans are the only ones that are fighting it, but there are very many people behind it, because the coverage the bill has got, the agreement has gotten, it is so much, to the extent that even people are wondering, why is it that this agreement is dominating various media houses, and it has been constant for almost the last 2 weeks. That should show you that there are some forces also which are not happy about it, because they have been excluded from this agreement. So the license to loot sometimes comes back and haunts those very people who issue those licenses to other people to loot, and they ignore others. So we need to see how we can fix some of these messes whereby we get investors who are not so genuine, who come with a track record whereby we give them. Priska's just told you how currently Parliament is sitting and trying to find out how far government can go to resolve the thing of the Lugo Hospital. You've just heard from her that the two companies which are doing the construction have left the site. So what does that communicate to you? And someone is coming to tell you she has over 80 million US dollars to invest in this coffee company. Where is he going to get that money from? All those questions are unanswered. So we need to know as Ugandans, are we giving the agreement that has been signed? Is the company really genuine? Is it reputable? Can it really be able to make sure that there is value add as they claim they are going to add value in our coffee? So if that is not done in the long run, then whom should they blame?
Abel, I want to keep you on there. The role of the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, according to the National Coffee Act, under Part 5, Section 35 of Subsection 1, states that the authority shall on application issue the following licenses upon such terms and conditions as the authority thinks fit. And that's the coffee buyer's license, the coffee grading license, and the processor's license. But what explains these inconsistencies and contradictions? Abel, can you get me?
Yes, I can get you. To me, when I look at what was done, of course, when you look at the Uganda Coffee Act, which was signed in 2021, it gives the Uganda Coffee Development Authority some of the rights to register and give license to all the coffee exporters and those coffee processors and various actors in the coffee industry. But when we look at the bickering around right now, there are claims that Uganda Coffee Development Authority did not participate in the final signing of this agreement. But of course, from the initial phase, which I explained to you, that their former managing director participated in accompanying this Uganda Vinci company, Uganda Vinci Coffee Company Limited, to meet the president director in July 2014. So that shows you, that gives you a clear indicator that they participated in the process of making sure that this agreement was in place, was going to be put in place. So, because as I'm aware that this was just they just amended this agreement on the 10th of February 2022, but it was in place. So there are other things which were blocking it. As Priska shared with you, that they knew the law would not favor them. So they first had to make sure they put in place a legal framework that would protect them. That's why we ended up seeing the Coffee Act being put in place in 2021. So once the act is in place, then they have a legal backing which can protect them, and they can continue with whatever they want to do. So to respond to your issue of whether you're asking whether Uganda Investment Authority or Uganda Coffee Development Authority was in this.
It's the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, UCDA.
To me, I think they participated from the initial phase where the former managing director met the president, and I think they agreed some of the things which were in this agreement. But of course, in the final signing, which we saw on the 10th of February 2022, of course, we didn't see some of them in the picture, so I don't know whether they really participated in the final deal or they were kicked out. You know, when you're dealing with people who want to benefit and you want a few people to benefit, of course, you have to make sure you can kick out others and you remain a few who can eat. And then at the end result, you see the thing will be blown to the media and you will see infights. So that's what we are seeing right now.
All right, thank you, Abel. And Jared, I want to bring you back on. Government is insisting that it is not a monopoly, but the more you look at it, the more it looks like a monopoly. Ramadan Gori denies claims that the government is creating a monopoly because he says the company shall only utilize 6.4% of Uganda's coffee production at the start. What do you have to say about this? Is it a monopoly or is it not?
Lisa, I see it, in my own opinion, with the kind of incentives that they are giving, the tax exemption, they won't be paying the NSSF income tax, all the taxes, they have been exempted from actually paying all these. I think there is something that is very unique about this Vinci company, because we have gotten so many companies that have been roasting coffee here. So, of course, 6.4% that they will be producing, really, they are trying to show that they will not be monopolizing. But this local coffee farmer, the one who is in Ibugisu, the one who is in Uganda here, he cannot have, of course, he doesn't have the capacity to sell coffee outside. People like, big coffee farmers, like probably like the Kabushengas, the Ruggiero farms, they're the ones who have the capacity, but the rock farmer is not going to be benefiting. So I see it as a monopoly, because these people, they don't have options. So they will be giving their coffee to this very investor who has been given land, who has been, given, tax-free. So I look at it as a monopoly in such kind of manner, because really he's going to out to compete these other local producers, these other people who are doing it. So it's unfair to a local farmer, because he doesn't have variety of options like they had. So I see it in that very lens.
Thank you, Jared. Priska, you have something to say about this, about the monopoly situation we have going on?
Actually, Lisa, I'd commented about it because the mere I told you that about 80% of the farmers are small scale holders, and even the statement that Bobby made was out in the open, because he said that those farmers who are incapable of exporting their own coffee, they can do it, and so that means the majority of those who can't have to go through Pineti. You see that? So that is the issue of denying that there is no monopoly. It's just trying to sugarcoat, try to sanitize the madness that they've already made in the deal. And as we were discussing, I'm in touch with some of the people at Parliament, because I told the coffee issue has been raised, and the minister Kasaija, I'm told he has said that the ministry is going to analyze the deal and come up with a statement. Now, that is the latest. They are going to analyze. That means he signed the deal without analyzing it in the first place. Because what else are you going to analyze if you already appended the signature to it? And so the argument of saying that it is not a monopoly does not hold water, because the majority of the farmers have been left on their out in the cold at the mercy of the price that is going to be quoted by Pineti. So that is a disguised monopoly. They think that a monopoly has to be everyone has to come, but if the majority have been left out in the cold, that is a disguised monopoly that you have already created in the market. And I see that our time is up, because this debate is going to keep on going on, and the latest statement by the minister that they're going to analyze the statement, it's more annoying, because okay, you're going to analyze, and then what? Because now already Pineti has the chip. You're now going to be the one on the bargaining side, trying to tell her, let's modify this, something you should have done had you consulted the farmers in the first place. So the whole bickering of the ministers and everything is they are just trying to play on the minds of Ugandans. But I think it's time the government started to take seriously the stakeholders and started make consultations, because those stakeholders, you may think that these are the people with the in church or who have never been to school, but trust me, when you speak to those local people, they understand their businesses best. So it is about you dropping your privilege of thinking that because you sit in an S office, that you know better than they do. These people understand their business. A coffee farmer in Elgon region does not have the same experience as a coffee farmer in Buganda. Because they have varying, and you even see the Katikiro also came up and said the kingdom must have been consulted also that. So at least going forward, government should start taking the citizens seriously. What it means consulting. Kasaija did not have to go to every farmer to consult. It's a matter of you just drawing up and say, there are coffee farmers in Uganda, let me meet one group. There are coffee farmers in Elgon, things like that in the west and the north. And you consult, get their opinions and sit down and agree on something. Not you arrogantly coming to tell them that when we went to the bush, we fought, we didn't consult you. It's going to cost them so much. And in the end, because they are in their later years, but these farmers have kids who are going and they are trying to patch away and to make sure that their kids try to compete for jobs with the kids of Kasaija. Already the ground is not leveled. But now even they are trying to grow coffee so that they try to bridge the gap, but now you're taking away their own ground. So going forward, the government needs to take consultations of stakeholders seriously.
Thank you, Priska, for that final message. Yes, Abel.
I would like to also supplement on what Priska and Gerald have said concerning the monopoly or the oligopoly. You see, government can systematically create these monopolies or oligopolies. Oligopolies are like a small group of producers or farmers where there's limited competition among them, and other people also want to engage in selling the same product they are trying to sell and produce. So you can see that current right now, we saw they came up with an act in 2021, Uganda Coffee Act. So first of all, that act only is a barrier to some of the people who will want to acquire licenses to either add value to this coffee, because they have to get a license through the same government which has signed an agreement with Uganda Vinci Coffee Company. So they can put in terms where they can tell you, you have to raise this amount of money if you want to get a license to do the same thing like Uganda Vinci Coffee Company. So they can play with you systematically within the law and kick you out. So the claims that they are not creating a monopoly or oligopoly, that's just, I look at it as rhetoric, but they have already created a platform whereby they can already kick out other farmers, because they can tell you, okay, can you come up with 80 million US dollars and we give you a license to do the same thing like you? How many Ugandans can raise that money? There are very few. So they are creating their monopoly systematically and they are blocking others out. So they need to rethink and say, how can we help Ugandans? Because if you oppress them and do away with most of them, because most of them rely on their livelihood. So if you decide to create one monopoly and kick out other people out of the market, that means you're going to affect the livelihood of very many Ugandans. And you cannot affect the livelihood of very many Ugandans and think you can move into a middle-income status. So we shall just...
Yes, Abel. Our time is fast spent. What's your final message to the government, if they're listening, the people in government?
I would tell the people in the government they need to rethink. They need to go and, as the minister, as we are hearing the minister, I think that he's going to go and reanalyze the agreement. Indeed, let him go and reanalyze the agreement with a sober mind and make sure that he puts Ugandans into his consideration when he's reanalyzing that agreement. And they find ways of negotiating with Uganda Vinci Coffee Company. If there is ways of making sure that if they can be able to do away with the agreement, for me, I feel like the agreement should be just kicked off and they cancel it. Although it will cost Uganda lots of money, but they can sit down and negotiate, because some of these agreements also are signed so that some people cancel it and benefit from the government by getting money. So never know.
Thank you, Abel. And lastly, Gerard, your parting shot.
My parting shot, the government, actually within its system, these people have been planning to do this. I recall they had to withdraw from International Coffee Organization. That is a platform that brings together the producers of coffee. So it has been a move that is planned. So this some group of people who want really to sniff for the resources. I'm not a pessimist, but I pray that really Uganda the Vinci Coffee Company Limited delivers its mandate. I pray that the local farmers who is toiling in the Bugis, who is toiling around Buganda in the areas of Ankole like Bushenyi, really get this premium. Okay, like we need to see their prices. Coffee. Most of the people they depend coffee on livelihood. I expect at least the government to consider these very people rather than being exploited by this so-called investor. I thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jared, and thank you to all our panelists for taking time to be part of this conversation. And also thank you to all our viewers who tune in every Wednesday. We hope to see you next week, same place, same time. God bless you.